Hello everyone, I am Nivedita Jena from Ambika Prasad Research Foundation. Welcome to all of you to our channel Biodiversity and Conservation. So today in this part we are going to discuss about the wildlife conservation and management. So first we are going to discuss about that what is wildlife and what it defines. When man first appeared on the planet Earth, in those times the whole world was wild. The distinction perhaps first arose with the advent of civilization, when man first mastered the art of taming the animals and domesticating them to serve his own purpose, so that the species for which he was not directly responsible and he hunted them became wild for him. In the same way, to a common man today, wildlife is all the life that he gets to see in the forest. So generally the term wildlife includes the sum total of the animals and plants found over the planet Earth, excluding domesticated animals and cultivated plants grown for human purposes. According to provisions of the Act, animal includes mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and other vertebrates and invertebrates, and also includes their young and eggs. Habitat includes land, water, or vegetation, which is the natural home of any wild animal. Wild animal means any animal specified in Schedules 1 to 4 and found wild in nature. Land includes canals, creeks, and other water channels, reservoirs, rivers, streams, and lakes, whether artificial or natural marshes and wetlands, and also includes boulders and rocks. So the definition of wildlife, according to Wildlife Protection Act, thus is very broad one and includes both flora and fauna. There are 6 schedules appended to the text of Wildlife Protection Act containing a list of species protected by it. Schedule 1 and 2 include most of the endangered or threatened animals of India as per the provisions of Wildlife Protection Act. It is essential that for any animal to be categorized as wild animal, it has to satisfy 2 criteria. Firstly, that the animal is listed in Schedule 1 to 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act, and secondly, the said listed animal is found wild in nature. Biodiversity has traditionally been defined as the variety and variability among the living organisms. It is the variety of life on the planet, within and among species and across ecosystems. It plays a vital role in defining and regulating the environmental conditions in which we live and survive. It provides many different services ranging from food, clean water, and fuel to the provision of medicines. The 3 hierarchical categories, genes, species, and ecosystems, into which biodiversity is divided: genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. So the genetic diversity refers to the variability within the species. This diversity can be measured by the variation in genes within an individual species, population, variety, subspecies, or breed, where species diversity refers to the variety of species within a local area, region, or at the global scale. Such variety can be measured in many ways, and scientists have not settled on a single best method. The number of species in a region, its species richness, is the most often used measure, but population biologists sometimes use a more precise measurement that weighs the presence of a species versus their frequency at a given locality. Since the species is the best understood unit by the common people, and because of the work of taxonomists, much of the attention to biodiversity has been focused at the species level. An ecosystem diversity refers to a community of organisms and their physical environment interacting as an ecological unit. The focus at this level is on properties and processes, not just species or assemblage of species. Biodiversity conservation at the ecosystem level to preserve the basic trophic structure, patterns of energy flow, and nutrient cycling. And the most important point is that biodiversity is the degree of variety in nature. It is not nature itself. Biodiversity is the variation that exists not just between the species of plants, animals, microorganisms, and other forms of life on the planet, but also within species in the form of genetic diversity and at the level of ecosystems in which species interact with one another and with the physical environment. And wildlife then is a part and parcel of the biodiversity found over the planet Earth. Then coming to the wildlife conservation. So the term conservation was coined by the forester Gifford Pinchot in 1907 to describe the philosophy that the environment must be managed to assure adequate supplies of natural resources for present and future generations. The term is derived from the Latin word conservare, which means to save, to preserve, to watch over, or to guard. Wildlife is today under threat worldwide as a result of various activities of man life, the destruction and modification as wildlife habitats, overexploitation, and trade of wildlife, etc. To counter the threat of possible extinction, the practice of wildlife conservation and management have become essential. And the effectiveness of defining of wildlife conservation as a social process lies in the fact that it emphasizes on the historical development of attitudes and practices in relation to resource use and aims to integrate public and professional opinions and activities in meeting with the desired aims of conservation. And the ultimate aim of wildlife conservation is to counter the threat of unnatural extinction to wildlife and to sustain the wildlife populations at such levels so that their benefits are made available to the present generation and also to keep intact for the future generation of mankind. So the major objectives of wildlife conservation are to conserve the genetic resources, to gain material benefit from wildlife, to reduce material damage from wildlife, to restore degraded wildlife ecosystems in their natural state, and to regulate and improve the socio-economic practices of societies affecting the wildlife areas. And the practice of wildlife conservation describing the art of wildlife conservation, and Bailey finds it appropriate to distinguish between three sectors in the society which function together in a coordinated fashion to achieve the aims and objectives of any wildlife conservation program. These are including scientific sector, second one is socio-economic sector, and the third one is management sector. So the scientific sector includes the researchers and scientists of various institutions like colleges, universities, and non-governmental organizations engaged in the study of wildlife and its habitat. Wildlife research involves study of animals and the environments that through evolution they have become adapted to and dependent on. Results of wildlife research serve as a basis for management and administrative decisions as well as to promote public awareness of the problems and potential of wildlife. And the socio-economic sector consists of the general public at large. A well-informed and interested public is perhaps the most vital component in the success or failure of any conservation program. Realizing this, Government of India has today stepped up programs for increasing environmental awareness, through the formal, non-formal, and informal modes of education. And environmental education has been made essential at all levels of the formal education across all streams, that is, science, arts, and commerce, up to the graduation level. Apart from awareness, other determinants that help in the shaping of a strong public policy in favor of conservation include the history and culture of the society, as well as the economic conditions of the people at large. And the management sector, the actual art of wildlife conservation and management is practiced in this sector, given a set of goals. Wildlife managers, which include the officials and staff of Department of Forest and Wildlife in India, strive to attain them. They use the knowledge that is obtained by research in managing the wildlife population and its habitat, etc. So the aims of wildlife population management are few and specific, and they can usually be achieved by specific action. There are in fact only three problems of population management. One is conservation, which is the treatment of small or declining or ecologically extinct population to raise its density. The second one is sustained yield harvesting, the exploitation of population to take from it a sustained yield. And the third one is control, the treatment of population that is too dense or which has an unacceptable high rate of increase to stabilize or reduce its density. So a wildlife population may thus be managed in one of four ways: make it increase, make it decrease, harvest it for a continuing yield, leave it alone but keep an eye on it. So these are the only options available to the manager. So three decisions are needed. What is the desired goal? The second one is which management option is therefore appropriate, and by what action is the management option best achieved? So the first decision requires a judgment of value, the others technical judgments. Then coming to the custodial and manipulative management, some find it convenient to distinguish between the following two general types of wildlife managements. One is manipulative management, which acts on a population, either changing its numbers by direct means of influencing numbers, by the indirect means of altering food supply, habitat, density of predators, or prevalence of disease. This is appropriate when a population is to be harvested or when it slides to an unacceptably low density or increases to an unacceptably high level. And the custodial management is preventive or protective. The aim is to minimize external influences on the population and its habitat. It is appropriate in a national park where one of the stated goals is to protect ecological processes. It is also appropriate for conservation of a threatened species where the threat is of external origin rather than being intrinsic to the system. Thank you.